Welcome to our presentation on transforming the educational landscape through STEM-rich instruction.
I'm Jackie Furser. My current role is Instructional Technology Integration Analyst for Arlington Public Schools. When I began working with Cheryl on this project, I was working as a resource teacher for gifted services and then later as a STEM specialist.
I'm Cheryl McCullough. I supervise K-12 gifted services in Arlington Public Schools, and I could not have done what we're getting ready to show you without Jackie Furser. So before we get into the nitty gritty of what we actually did, we thought we would start off giving you a snapshot of the experience teachers and students had in our Summer Laureate program. We will share how we got there and how the program evolved over the years. And we will also share how the program positively influenced STEM-related integration in a variety of ways in our county.
Welcome to Digital APS. As you know, in Arlington, the learning never stops. So over the summer, we visited Arlington Traditional School to highlight the Summer Laureate program, where students from all over the county in grades K through 5 came together for a summer learning experience where technology integration was happening all over the place. Let's go take a look.
We have a focus of content-based instruction designed around different themes at every grade level. And our focus is to really incorporate a lot of science concepts, engineering design, and also technology.
Oh my goodness, I see Jupiter and I see the sun. It looks like I'm in space, but I can feel I'm in Earth. It's really cool.
It's an app called Titans of Space. So it has audio that's sort of taking them on a virtual tour of the different planets in the solar system and facts about each one. We've been learning about environments, mostly obviously environments on Earth, but this gives them a chance to sort of experience something that's totally outside of what they're normally used to.
I looked in space, and when I looked in space, I saw Earth, and when I saw Earth, I saw mostly water on it and not much green part.
A lake is a body of water that is surrounded by land.
It's really important to us that technology is a part of the entire process of learning a concept. It's not that our instruction is built around a specific piece of technology. It's that the technology is integrated throughout the entire process. It's the tool that our students use in order to learn the concept.
So we take a picture of it, then we take it off, and then put it in another place like that. And we keep going and move the shuttle a bit.
So you're watching when it gets shuttled from off there into the distance. It's circling around trying to find new data.
The challenge was to make it a metro with stops.
Well, these are small little robots called Autobots, where you make codes, like such as black lines, zigzags, and then it eventually follows that.
I can make it go fast and slow and stop.
I'm making a book, like a research project on moose, and I'm making like a slideshow, like saying different things about each slide that I'm making.
We did them getting on the planes.
Well, I can only hope that the technology integration continues to grow, because being able to personalize instruction for our students is really enhanced to such a high level with the use of more technology. We're able to do so many projects that we weren't able to do before and teach so many 21st century skills to these kids.
Alligators can go up to 2 years without eating.
Remember, if you have questions for the show, we can be reached via email at digital.aps@apsva.us, and please follow us on Twitter at digitalaps.
To give you a bit of context, when we moved to this our school system was in the middle of a one-on-one technology initiative, which was great. Although many of our teachers did not have the training to appropriately use the technology, nor did the majority have training in high quality apps to challenge and engage learners. We knew STEM-focused instruction was the direction we needed to move in as a way to engage digital learners that we may be missing with more traditional style of teaching. Of course, having a vision is one thing, carrying out the vision is another, and we had many conversations on how to make this vision a reality. As supervisor of a K-12 gifted services program for a county, I was in charge of a long-standing Summer Laureate program. Jackie taught in Summer Laureate for a few years and was one of my resource teachers of the gifted at the time, and was also in charge of leading her school with personalized learning and tech integration. Because of her experience and also her leadership in another pilot summer experience that we had created the year before, I knew Jackie was the person I needed to revamp the existing units into a full-blown STEM experience. We saw this as an opportunity to immerse teachers and students in this new learning in a risk-free, supportive environment, knowing that if teachers were successful here, there would be a greater chance of this new knowledge and a way of teaching to transfer to their teaching during the school year. So as we were having multiple conversations, we really had three main driving questions in the beginning. The first one was, how do we capitalize on the students' natural curiosity, inquisitiveness, and desire for exploration? How do we support teachers in STEM integration as they teach rigorous standards? And then how can this experience support transformative teaching during the school year? We also had to consider our main stakeholder groups of students, teachers, and parents. We mentioned these three stakeholder groups because this was going to be a major change in a long-standing program for parents, teachers, and students. We knew our communication plan needed to be ongoing, it needed to be diversified, and we also needed to use opportunities to show rather than tell why we did this, and then the success stories that were associated with it. And of course, as we did this, new questions emerged. Based on those three driving questions, they led us to things that helped us consider how we were going to get around some barriers, both anticipated barriers and unanticipated barriers. And we knew we had to do that to make this a reality. So one major one was, how are we going to get the technology we needed? Some of our students had iPads, while some did not. Some schools did not want to use the iPads or sent them home in the summer. We had to wipe out the iPads, and then we had to repurpose them for our program. It was a lot of work in that area. So where could we get all the technology beyond the iPads? Because that was not the only technology we were using, as you saw in the video. The other thing we really wanted to focus on was the coaching. How do we create a system of ongoing support for teachers so they could try these different technology ideas in a risk-free environment? And then how do we find the time to revamp our units to infuse the meaningful STEM integration, knowing that many of our teachers may not have been familiar with the apps or the STEM challenges or even concept-based instruction or problem-based learning? And then, as I mentioned, we really wanted to focus on communication and showcasing, and how do we communicate this shift in our direction of the program and why, and how do we continue to message the positive things and diversify our message. Another major focus was shifting the population we served in the program to offer this opportunity to more diverse group of gifted learners. This was very important to both Jackie and me. And when we get getting into the building of our successes, you will hear about another summer experience, Young Scholars Innovation Academy, modeled after this one. And we were able to offer that one free for Title I students using much of the same things you'll see here.
Even though we began this process by focusing on how to integrate technology, you'll notice that we encourage teachers to offer multiple opportunities for low-tech and no-tech hands-on learning opportunities. Before we could even begin planning for how this new integration would take place with the teaching staff, we had to find a way to get access to the personalized student devices and the cutting edge equipment that we would use to help us drive the spirit of innovation in our camp, in our summer program. Up to that point, our school district did not incorporate one-to-one instruction in any way for any of the summer programs, for summer school programs. So we knew that it would be a bit of an uphill battle for us. I wish I had an easy solution to solve the problem of how other school districts can find this kind of technology. I can recommend that you try to beg, borrow, and steal method, which is what we kind of did. Well, maybe not steal, but try anything else that you can to get there. Write grants, use donors choose, invite administrators who have access to purchasing cards to happy hour to discuss your plans for innovation for change, because that definitely works. Just have those really meaningful conversations with other people who can get behind your vision and help you out in trying to find different pathways for getting there. The first year, we convinced the county to let us have access to enough iPads so that all the students in our program, K through 5, could be 2-to-1. And at that time, back in 2016, that was a pretty innovative change for our school, even having that, our school district, even having 2-to-1 devices. We had 10 virtual headsets, about 15 Ozobot robots, and about 8 or 9 Sphero robots to begin with. And we had that to share with our entire program of about 250 students. But we were ready to go. We were ready to make it work. And through using a bunch of different techniques and strategies, it was really possible. And we'll talk about those as we go through the presentation. In the second year, we started having conversations about technology very early, because I realized that we began scheduling meetings with school district administrators in February about getting the technology needed to be K-to-1 or 1-to-1 for K through 5, because that was our real goal, so that each student could have their own device to really personalize the learning that was going on. One thing I learned from year 1 is that the technology takes a lot of time. So as Cheryl mentioned before, summer school iPads have to be collected from the schools. They have to be wiped of all their existing information, re-imaged, and the necessary apps that we needed for our program had to be reloaded on the device. And instructional technology coordinators did not want to hear about that last minute. And especially their administrators didn't either. They wanted to know all those things well in advance. So we really started having those meetings almost as soon as winter break had ended. And that was something that I did the first year through trial and error. We added to our robotics collection and virtual reality collection with more grants that we wrote, and added stop motion and green screen filming to our curriculum so that students would be able to have that graphic way to show what they know in a really innovative and new way. Year 3 and beyond that, the results and the parent feedback were so successful that we were bringing in that the school district decided to include that sort of 1-to-1 instruction for all of their summer school programs. So that was a pretty big shift. And they also wanted to create additional enrichment programs that would be for students who wanted to learn coding, and Cheryl will probably talk more about that later in the presentation. Our program was up to over 20 VR and AR kits at the third year. We had makerspace programming and circuitry sets, still continuing with the advanced filming and editing applications, and we continued the 1-to-1 devices, of course, for all grade levels. So there were big changes that happened over those 3 years in what we were able to provide. So nobody likes paperwork. The solution for us was to get rid of it. Once the technology was secured in that first year, we could move on then to another obstacle, which was the paper mess that we needed to kind of organize and clean up. Prior to these big changes, all of the administrative paperwork was actually paper. All of the reports, the evaluations for teachers, students, the lesson plans, even the daily attendance was taken by collecting slips of paper from each classroom every morning, which was pretty time-consuming process for a 3 or 4 hour program during the day. So that was one of the things that we wanted to try to eliminate and really streamline so that everybody was on the same page and we were able to make some organizational changes for the overall program. This caused several issues. A major one was that teachers were all the papers and years of lesson plans and worksheets into giant binders. When they had time to actually put them into the binder, they would do that. And then those binders would be passed on to whoever taught the grade level the following summer. I taught Summer Laureate back in 2007, and that was pretty much the system then too. So, and we really knew that we needed to kind of update that system. And Cheryl had been working on that with her coordinators in the past to try to do that. But you really need to have a coordinator in place for program changes like this who are really ready to implement that kind of change to make it really effective, right? So that was one of our big goals, was to put everything digital, make everything collaborative in Google Docs. And back in 2016, now in 2020, it doesn't seem so innovative or exciting, but at that time, it was quite a big change because not everybody was using Google Drive to organize all of their paperwork and share collaborative documents. So that was a big shift for our teachers as well. We were kind of putting a lot on their plate all at once and asking them to take on quite a bit. But it had really good overall impact for the program. So we were asking the teachers each year to sift through these binders to piece together their lesson plans, and we knew that had to change. A clear and organized system of collaboration was necessary. We knew that. And we made it possible by recreating everything in a digital format. All the necessary documentation was put into a Google Drive that was shared by everyone. And that created a space where the administrators, the administrative assistants, the clinic aide, the librarians, the tech coach, instructional assistants, and all the teachers could be on the same page together, which was really important for the program to communicate and coexist with each other. That had never been the case before in the years that the program had existed. So that was a pretty big change.
So really the focus for us, we wanted to have a great summer program for children and really make it a STEM experience. We also had a parallel path in mind. We wanted to make sure that the teachers that taught in our program had the opportunity to take risks and to learn STEM, engagement, so that when they go back to the classroom, their year-long instruction would change and be more engaging, and they would feel more confident. So being very intentional about choosing appropriate staff members who shared our vision was a critical first step. We also, for me, it was very critical to find somebody like Jackie who had a similar vision as I did and could really actually carry out the vision. Talking about the tech, I will say that I think her persistence in working with our county people in our technology offices really did pay off, because we ended up getting a lot of technology that we never thought we would get. So the persistence and the continuing to ask was really very key to us having this vision. And I also feel like the coaching and the support we need somebody like Jackie, who has all this background knowledge and coaching experience, and is also not intimidating. She's also somebody who's going to walk the walk with you and is a collaborator and is not intimidating to work with. So I think that was really key to making this shift for teachers.
Yeah, and something that makes a coordinator role much easier is finding teachers who are willing to embrace that change, which is something that Cheryl's very good at, finding talent that will fit in a particular program. And that helps quite a bit. And our staff did change over the years to find the correct people who were able to embrace change and adapt to and be very flexible with what we were asking them to do. And that was a very important part of being able to pull off a program like this. So as we mentioned, hiring is really important, and a major educational changes are made easier when you have teachers that are not afraid to take risks. We made it very clear to the staff that they were highly encouraged to try new things, knowing there would be glitches along the way, because there always are when you're implementing a big change. But teachers not always used to having the freedom to be innovative without the penalty of test scores and administrative judgment. So that was really the first year. It was really a big part of our coaching and support that we were offering, because convincing some of the staff members that this was honestly the way that we looked at it, at this new approach to teaching and instruction, took some time and effort. And luckily, knowing once the teachers were able to talk to Cheryl about what her expectations were for the overall program and her vision, they were really kind of set at ease that it was okay if they took risks in their instruction, and if they didn't go well, then it was okay. You learn from them and you move on. So that's a really important environment to create, I think, anytime you're trying to enforce a big change in the system or in education like this. After we hired teachers, at each grade level, team agreed to meet with me as the coordinator for at least 2 hours. And this was an unplanned or unpaid time to meet and plan, which was a big ask for teachers. But because of what we were trying to accomplish, they really needed to commit to some time in advance. And they needed to discuss how the technology would work because it was all mostly brand new to them. And the concept-based instruction was new to a few of them. Some of them had used that before. And maker education was also a pretty new concept at that point as well. And that would all be incorporated into the new curriculum. A bonus incentive came later for them when Cheryl found the funds to pay them for an additional 5 hours, which was great and really motivating for teachers who are trying to earn some extra money in the summer. But they originally agreed to the 2-hour curriculum writing before they even knew that they would get paid. So that just goes back to finding the right staff who are motivated for the right reasons to be able to make big changes like that. So we had the technology and a plan, but if the teachers wouldn't implement it, then we couldn't move the program forward. So all of this integration and the many of the instructional strategies were brand new to the teachers, as we mentioned. We understood that we had to increase not only our teachers' buy-in to these innovative changes, but also provide a large amount of support for them throughout the program. And we were kind of limited in how that could happen. So we had to be pretty creative in finding ways. One way to encourage buy-in from them was to make the stakeholders of the program owners of the change, right? We asked the teachers to sign up for a tool that they were personally interested in learning about and be able to share that with others. Once the teachers chose the piece of technology that they knew that they wanted to implement during the summer program, we asked them to share a brief 3 to 5 minute presentation on the tool and how they plan to use it during the program to the whole group on our orientation day. And this turned out to be a really good strategy because not only did it force each staff member to really learn at least one tool well enough to teach it to others before the program even started in their free time, but that teacher also became a resource for the others in case they wanted to ask for support before they tried it in their own instruction during the program's duration. So instead of having just 1 or 2 people in our program who could model and support the use of these new tech tools and different instructional strategies, now we had 18 of them to draw from, which was really helpful as someone who is an administrator of the program. We also flipped the professional development for them because we knew the amount of time that they had to learn while they were teaching the normal school day for a summer program to get ready for a summer program was limited. So we had to be able to offer digital self-paced training opportunities with them. And we did that through the use of our website that we had built for the program and this tool called Symbaloo, which is a really great tool to check out. It shares a collection of video tutorials and it shares a collection of website links with others. You can use it with teachers or students, and you can group different types of technology or any kind of websites that you want to put together, and then the teachers knew that they had access to this collection of resources whenever they needed it. So they basically had access to 24/7 professional development just through this one easy website. So that was one way that you could address getting everybody on board on the same page with the same knowledge. So not only could the teachers rely on other staff members to support their attempts in trying out new technology, Cheryl and I decided to turn my coordinator role and the 2 kindergarten assistant roles that previously had been in the program into floating tech coaches. So that meant that that those 2 classrooms were down an assistant, but we really worked with them to support them whenever they needed it. Teachers could sign up for different help throughout the day. They could either sign up for help from me as the coordinator to come in and model instruction, or just be an extra set of hands. And our 2 assistants were made into instructional tech coaches. So they were hired as people who already understood a lot of the technology or could absorb it really. And they would go in and help those teachers whenever they needed it. And you can see this is a spreadsheet, just a Google sheet that was shared with the program, and teachers could sign up whenever they needed it. And it was available for the entire length of each day, and they could sign up in advance, and we would just show up. They would let us know. We would do a little planning in advance if we needed to, but that was one way that we supported them throughout the program in using these new tools. So it wasn't quite as scary that you had to learn something and try it out on your own. There was always support available. To find free resources is to find a nearby science, math, or technology-driven high school near you, and ask for as many volunteers as you can get, which is what we did. And we were always surprised that other programs didn't do that as well. They ended up borrowing some of our volunteers in the last year that we were running the program, because they realized how critical a high school student who is motivated to help out could be for really advancing your program along. They were great working with the kids, and they also got volunteer hours for doing it. So it worked out for both sides. Our high school volunteers were called STEMbassadors, and the teachers in our program could sign up for those students as an extra set of hands in their classroom, in addition to the teachers that they could sign up. And we trained those students on the applications that they would be using in the classroom, and how to do the robotics programming and all of the tools that we were using with the teachers. Luckily, the high school students could pick it up really quickly and easily, and then they could go off and work in the classroom on their own. So that was just one more way to kind of stretch the resources that we had out in another way, and make even more support available.
And all it cost us was a box of like Cheetos every week or something. Right? As long as I kept them fed, they were.
Yeah,
that
is very true.
And I do want to add that, with this big shift, there were a lot of administrative. There's been a lot of administrative paperwork to the program, and Jackie really had to. With her becoming a coach as part of the coordinator role, we really had to shift the way we did a lot of the paperwork that we needed to do, all the things that we needed to get out to parents and attendance and things like that. So we really started hiring an admin that could really support us in that work, so that Jackie could spend the majority of her time coaching teachers and also training the STEMbassadors. And then, of course, my assistant, who's an amazing lady, really picked up a lot of the pieces of just printing off things for families, or printing off labels and things like that. You'll see. So that really made it possible to alleviate her from the administrative work that sometimes you can get bogged down in. As you can see, Jackie had a great design of how we were going to support teachers, and all the variety of ways, and it just really worked. And now we're going to shift a little bit about how we really was focused on overhauling the curriculum pieces that we knew were very important. So we had our program before we started a STEM focused program. Our summer laureate curriculum was written with concept based learning or big ideas as a unifying base with a problem solving learning focus. We already had great curriculum, and as Jackie had said, over the years people had added to the curriculum and added to the binder. So we just we had a lot of good things that were already happening. So we really wanted to keep the concept-based instruction and problem-based learning focus. So we had each grade level continue with that concept in the focus, and to plan and deliver their lessons. We also asked them to really think about concept-based learning in a deeper way, and doing those concept attainment lessons that we know were critical in the transferring of learning to multiple disciplines and situations, and was just an important aspect of our program that we kept in place, and it was essential for the foundation for the STEM-focused instruction that we wanted to add. We also knew problem-based learning supports focused inquiry around real-world problems, and this problem would also drive the learning and allow for personal motivation about the problem to be explored. So all these things were very important for us to keep and then add to. After our teachers understood their overarching concept and their theme, they were then encouraged to build in like content-rich strategies that you'll, like a picture right here that shows students how to really enjoy their learning. And these non-traditional methods are highly engaging for students of all levels. And strategies like problem-based learning and maker education also provide an outlet for our students' natural curiosity and creativity in a way that is often missed in today's test-driven classrooms. Teaching conceptually and infusing problem-based learning as a foundation for lessons is sometimes challenging for teachers who have never encountered this way of planning and delivering instruction. We had to take that into consideration. We would typically have returning teachers each year, and then we'd also have a few new ones that wanted to try this new way of teaching, and they were added to our mix. It was wonderful. So we had a mix of people, and because of this and the new addition of new technology that most were unfamiliar with, we tried to make our curriculum redesign plan as uncomplicated as possible. We asked teachers to take the existing units written around a concept and then find the natural places in the lessons where the STEM-related activities and challenges could be used. Teachers were also expected to use many different types of digital tools, and with real-time coaching support system in place, these additions to the lessons sometimes occurred after the program had started, and that was expected, and it was really supported, as Jackie had mentioned. We really worked with some of our teachers who were perfectionists to say it's okay to fail in this situation. It's not failing, it's failing if you don't take the risk. So we had to have a lot of conversations about that. And then we supported, and then we knew we had to teach all the tool. We knew we couldn't teach all the tools ahead of time because if we did that, they may not have context for it. So we really did plan for a natural addition of learning these technologies as we went. We were also we just wanted them to make these natural connections, and helping them plan this natural connection with these coaches that knew how to do that was really pivotal.
So the next few slides provide a couple of examples of how fifth grade teachers created a theme for their lessons, tying them together systems. And you saw the picture of the subway in the last slide. So they were tying different systems together through the concept of systems while integrating arts and use of technology and design thinking. All of those things kind of went into their planning as they thought about what they were going to do with the students to get them through the program successfully. After researching and exploring the DC metropolitan subway system, students were asked to create a piece of artwork that they would actually just capture what they had learned and incorporate. They were asked to incorporate a science or math feature into the artwork piece. Then they would use that piece of artwork to focus on on their recorded presentation, just like a basic 5-slide story where they were sharing what they learned with their classmates. So not only were they able to do the research and actually be there to see real life connection to the concept, but they were also able to synthesize what they had learned and then share it with others in a creative way. So here's the student's painting that he was working on, and the science concept that he incorporated into it was creating a parallel circuit that was built into the back of the painting with LED lights and copper tape and a coin battery. So he made a simple parallel circuit, which also tied into what he was learning with systems. In the student's 5-slide presentation, this is the same picture with the lights turned off, so you can kind of see the lights shining through in the subway. In the student's presentation, he made a comparison of the subway system to the electrical system that he used to create the light up feature in his artwork, and kind of discussed what he had seen through visiting through the field trip and the research that the students had done, so just to tie it all together into something that's applicable to their real life in living in this area. As we mentioned problem-based learning earlier, our expectation for teachers was that they integrate innovative digital tools into their instruction while providing opportunities for the students to use design thinking in their learning. It's very important to be able to do that, and as the program evolved, problem-based learning proved once again to be an engaging way to do both of those things. So that was one way to tie the theme and the concept all together and sum it up into a real life kind of problem that was relevant to the students. The students in these pictures are working on solving a very real problem for this area, which is traffic congestion in Northern Virginia. And they're working on ways to present their solutions by programming robots and using Maker Education to share what they learn. So you can see that the real instruction that we're using to teach the students is not programming and robotics. That was just the side product that the students were able to use to share their learning about some content topic that was relevant to their grade level. And I'll share the video of one of the students' solutions real quick. And you can hear the coding program speaking during as they run it. So those students, sorry about the filming, it was filmed by a student as well, so it's a little tipsy, but the point of their project was to be able to show self-driving cars and where we could go in the future with that. And they were showing that even a simple robot could be programmed to follow the rules or not, if they chose not to program it that way, and be able to possibly create a variety of solutions in the future for the problem that we're facing right now. So this student is a good example of how we were using Maker Education as a way for students to show what they had learned. This student made an example. She uses Maker Education to be able to create one of the examples that she had been researching for creating solutions for transportation in the system, in the concept of systems. And she did a really interesting job with it and ended up using circuitry to be able to create the final product. So it was something that she could actually fit into. She was pretty proud of that. And Makerspace is just the concept, the location for where students might find Maker in a building or in a classroom. Creating a makerspace in a school or a classroom does not have to be complicated at all. As a matter of fact, we don't actually care about having an actual space for something like this to take place. So if you don't have any room for one, then you don't have to worry about it, because maker education can happen anywhere. There's advantages to having an area dedicated to keeping supplies for logistical reasons in a classroom or in a school building. And it also reminds students of the option to show what they know. But what we really wanted our teachers to take away from the program is the importance of incorporating design thinking and hands-on learning with their students, and using maker education was one way to do this. Not so much the space itself. That's not really what we were focusing on. Teachers were encouraged to teach our students about the engineering design process at every level, K through 5, and any lesson could be made better by engaging student choice options, which included that maker education strategy and the different innovative tools like you saw, like the students programming robotics. Those were all options for student choice for how kids could show what they were learning to their peers and to their teachers and to their families. Our second grade students didn't just learn about programming robotics. As you can see in this little GIF here, they were able to build their own robots. The video shows a project that was done where students created their own Wigglebots that could draw on their own in case they weren't able to draw a picture, or they didn't feel like they were very good at drawing on their own. They could create a robot to do that for them. By year 2 and 3, grade level teams were definitely refining how they were incorporating problem-based learning and maker education. As Cheryl said, we did have a mix of teachers who returned and who did not. Usually we had at least one returning teacher at every grade level, and that really helped because they could take what they had learned the year before and share it with their team and really push it forward for us, which is what we were encouraging and really wanted to see, that at that point the teachers were taking ownership of the ideas that we had shared with them originally, and were doing really great things with them. For example, these students spent their summer weeks researching and learning and preparing for real-world problems that we might have in the future. First, they brainstormed what those might be, and then they tried to come up with solutions for them. And they used maker education to create scaled models, which helped the collaborative groups of student presenters share their ideas with each other. Through design challenges, students learn, and they can be quick challenges. They don't have to be really long projects every time. Sometimes they can be just quick little things that you put together for the students to work on. In the image outlined in green that you see, those students built the tallest tower out of recyclables when they came in that morning, and they had a lot of fun doing that. And this is after the day before they had researched in their structures class, which focuses on architecture and structures. They had already done a little bit of research through using a virtual reality trip to see different towers and what makes the tallest tower tall and what structures work better than others. So they put that learning into place in the next day when they first came into class, and they were able to see who could build the tallest structure with what they had learned. In the image that's ringed in blue, you can see that those students were asked to explore what they had learned about arches. I think this might have been an opening challenge in the morning that they did, and they were asked to create a ring or an arch out of Pringles chips. So they went through quite a few chips to get there, but they did end up making actual rings with them. So they were pretty excited about that one. Anytime you can incorporate food, it's a good time. Design projects that are more complex are great too, if you have the time to be able to do them. And we definitely encourage our teachers to take that time to plan out those projects as well. Those types of projects really walk through all the steps of the engineering design process with our students, and help them be able to see the importance of being able to plan, brainstorm, plan, imagine the possibilities, ask those questions, do the research, test things out, go back and improve upon them, and be able to share what they've learned with others. That was something that was really encouraged throughout the entire program. That's not necessarily something that we changed. That's something that they were always doing before, but we just kind of found new ways to reinvent those ideas. You can see in the red outline image, those students are building a Rube Goldberg machine to test out simple machines that they were learning about in their class. And the yellow image shared the culminating design for a house of the future, which was completely solar powered by solar energy. And they had done plenty of experiences outside, real experiments and things where they were building solar powered ovens and testing different solar powered energy that they could in their class with their classmates, and they incorporated those concepts into the maker project that you see there. So it was a very, very involved project, but had really incredible results. The kids learned a lot. Another expectation that was shared with our teachers was that student downtime and transition time could be additional time used for learning. And I think in a summer program where your day is shorter, that was a really important concept. But it's also something that I hope that the teachers brought back with them to the classroom, because there's never enough time. And one of the big obstacles I think sometimes people see in trying to fit these kind of challenges and different design thinking projects in is that there's never enough time to get to the content. They can be part of the content, and you can also use them as little mini things to get in during the school day. Many design challenges can be completed in 5 minutes during the day. This could be done while students are waiting for class to begin, while they're waiting for other students to finish eating lunch, when they're early finishers from their assignment, and when they're waiting for the bus at the end of the day. There's no reason why we can't make waiting fun too. And that was something that we really tried to impress upon the teachers, so that students weren't sitting around or playing on their iPads in their free time. They were using it constructively in a really meaningful way. If a random visitor showed up to the program, they would be able to see students learning in innovative ways no matter what the grade level. So this wasn't just something that we did with the older kids. We definitely started at kindergarten and worked our way up. The technology was used in different ways, of course, and as you can see in these two pictures, the level of complexity might be a little different between the grade levels, but it was always there. So the image lined in green shows a first grade student creating a green screen video on his own. He had never touched green screening before he came to the program and picked it up in a few minutes. So the technology is pretty innovative and intuitive for kids to use at the same time, which is great for the educational setting. He was filming the flying insect that he scampered in a lesson in his first grade classroom to learn about adaptations and habitats that the animal would have to transform to fit into. And then he was green screening it so he could put the insect in a new habitat. The purple outline image shows a 5th grade student working on a stop motion video so that she can share what she learned about a math concept related to systems. So there were lots of different ways to take one concept and be able to share it with others. So guest speakers were really important for what we were doing in our classrooms. Since we live in a metropolitan area, which is really rich with interesting resources, we have all the great museums and all the different organizations and things in this area. We were always able to reach out to local professionals and ask them to be our engaging guest speakers. And oftentimes they were more than willing to come in and do that. Our teachers have used virtual meetings and in-person presentations. They were using virtual meetings back before it was really the thing to do. And in-person presentations, of course, to bring real-world visitors into talking to our students. And some of our students were, they've never been exposed to some of the people that the teachers were bringing in. They brought in, this picture is of someone who worked on Air Force One, and they would call NASA and have NASA speakers come in and visit, or other scientists into the classroom. And that just gave the kids a really real idea of what it was like to grow up and what you could do and what you could be. So it was really a great way for the kids to get more information and do really engaging research. We also used, as we mentioned before, we used virtual and augmented reality a lot of the times for different kinds of field trips. And because July and August are very hot months in DC, buses require a lot of additional funding to take field trips, we relied heavily on these virtual reality trips. Taking our students to castles in Europe, suspension bridges in Japan, and trips to outer space was no big deal. As you saw in the first video, the kindergarten student talking about his trips to outer space. It's a really cool way for kids to travel places where they wouldn't normally get to travel to. And it's a relatively cheap way to do so. It gets cheaper every year to be able to put that kind of tool into students' hands. With augmented reality, our students could hold poisonous spiders in their hands and walk around with a Tyrannosaurus Rex beside them, or stand next to a life-size human skeleton. Those were all really cool ways, but actually just free, because Google Expeditions is a free and highly recommended application for using virtual reality and augmented reality in the classroom. And then all you need is the devices, which is the tough part. So since we had iPads, if you have iPads or Chromebooks or any kind of tool, Google Expeditions will work on that. So you can bring virtual reality and augmented reality into just about any classroom these days.
So Jack has talked a lot about all the different ways that hopefully you see that the teachers are using the concept-based instruction, problem-based learning, and STEM challenges in a variety of different ways with support. And again, going back to our original essential questions when we were doing our planning for our vision, is really how do we communicate all of this to our stakeholders? And it's also how do we show the possibilities for other teachers who want to do this, but may be a little nervous. So we just wanted to show that children can do this with support, and teachers can do this with support. So one of the things that that Jackie did that was pivotal was designed a website for our Summer Laureate program, and this was actually it was a huge undertaking and a lot of hoops that she successfully jumped over with some of the political things in our county in terms of websites and what we were supposed to be able to use and not. But it was important aspect of making the program successful was to get out the word and be very transparent about what the program was all about. And it did take a concentrated effort. We all know how important it is, and not only involve our stakeholders in a learning environment, but also to market the amazing things that our teachers were doing every day with our students. It was just an amazing place to be. The homeschool and school communication became a real high priority for us and as you can see, the website. And we did get rid of a lot of paper copies for families. We know that children stuff things in their backpacks and maybe never make it home. So we were really trying to back away from communicating with parents and families that way. And we wanted to really connect families to like our digital platform. And this was a big transition for the first year. So the way we did that was when Jackie was so creative with this, and she came up with kind of labeling their students. So whenever there was an important event, it'd be posted on social media. It would also be printed on a mailing label and stuck on a student's shirt. So when they went home, their parents would see the label. And then we'd also add the QR codes to the student labels, which would take our parents directly to our website. So really supporting our families and getting the information in a creative and innovative way was top priority to us. We also had specific expectations of teachers to communicate to families, and of course, we gave a minimum of, having 3 website posts, a beginning, a middle, and end session post, and many of our teachers far exceeded that. And this is just an image of our first day letter. that we sent and then put it online. Teachers also were asked to include photos of what was going on each day with their communities on the website. And then of course, we had our Twitter, our Summer Laureate Twitter account that we were tweeting out to the county as well. In kindergarten, posting student work on the site happened to, well, in all the classrooms. We were excited to see that work was being posted faster than we anticipated, which was very exciting. So this picture shows App Smashing was used with stop motion and Padlet to share what the kindergarten students were learning with their plant experiments. Teachers also wrote into program updates. It was very important to us that teachers were giving feedback to students about what they had learned, and also to communicate to parents about progress and growth during the couple weeks that we had them. We also had a culminating event called the Innovation Hour, where so we wanted to make sure that we highlighted for families and for the other students what we had been doing for these couple of weeks. We surveyed the parents at the end of each year so that their feedback could guide us as we continue to evolve. We also surveyed the students and, of course, the teachers. And constructive feedback, of course, is always something good for us in terms of changing our program. And I always like to say life is a draft. And this is definitely an example of how that draft continues to get better with that feedback. Teacher-parent communication was just as important in a quick turnaround program, and our website included a page where parents could find our teachers' email so they could communicate with them directly, and that was very important to us. We also created a form on our site where emails would be sent directly to us as well as to the teachers. Again, another efficiency thing we put in place so that we would have that information or communication. And then, of course, we talked about the power of branding and marketing our product. And one of the first things we did was to create a summer logo on Canva, and we did stick it on everything. And Jackie, I did find a Summer Laureate notepad here today, and of course, find it now to hold it up. So these are these great sticky pads that teachers loved, and I still give as presents when I do presentations about this.
Get the word out there.
I'm sorry that we're not in person. You would be getting a Summer Laureate sticky pad notepad to take away with you. And then another, yeah, we literally stuck things on everything. We made T-shirts that were walking billboards. That with our QR codes and our Twitter accounts, the larger APS Gifted Twitter account, and of course our Summer Laureate APS Twitter account. And then after year 2, we decided to include a new change, dynamic digital student portfolios. We adopted Seesaw program-wide to improve home-school communication and to digitally capture student work and reflection throughout the program. And then we use Seesaw with grades K through 5. And I can tell you the teachers that were a part of our program for a couple years are now thanking us when we're now in the virtual world. Because they have Seesaw and they're able to do those digital portfolios much easier. I talked a little bit about Innovation Hour, and this was just a way for us to highlight the work, highlight what the students had done, and to give them leadership opportunities to really show what they knew. We invited school administrators, school board members, principals, staff, parents, and anyone that we could think of that would want to see the success of the face-to-face learning that we had back in those days. The other big shift for Jackie and I when we were doing this is we really wanted our Innovation Hour to be student-centered. We did not want it to be presentation style with the teachers saying what they had done. We wanted teachers to take ownership. So that was a couple years. We really by by our last year of doing this before the pandemic, we really had every classroom doing a workshop model or student-centered modeling of all the different activities, which was a huge victory, I think, for us.
And before the Innovation Hour, students are often encouraged to create different posters or flyers or invitations advertising the event for families and community members. But this video shows an example of the flexible instructional environment that was created within the program. This particular student took the initiative to incorporate what he had learned during the program to make an innovative final product for what his teacher was asking him to do. Instead of creating a poster or a paper invitation like everyone else was doing, he actually asked to be able to use his robot to program it to share a message to his classmates in preparation for the Innovation Hour presentation. It's pretty quick, so I'm going to share it really.
Hello, I am Sphero. I was reprogrammed to help treat stress. To help, I have prepared a series of sounds and colors to soothe you. Did the sound of a baby bird improve your emotional state? If not, I have a multitude of other sounds for you. I can also talk about Innovation Hour. I can also perform tricks for you. I will scan you to detect what to do. Scan complete. I will talk to you about Innovation Hour. Do not worry about Innovation Hour. Your family will be very proud of your work, even if they cannot come to see it. You are a brilliant inventor and I am very proud of you. Good luck.
So that's just an example of how our students were taking what they had learned during the program and using it in really great and exciting ways. So he was using his robot to counsel his peers.
I love that. One of the things that we talked about earlier that I want to come back to is we really wanted to create a diverse student population at Summer Laureate. And we had previously in our Summer Laureate program, well, I guess Jackie and I really wanted to try to remove those barriers that have historically been in place. And in prior years, teachers had to recommend students for Summer Laureate. So we really had to work on removing that kind of gatekeeper mentality of people deciding what students can do or which students could do this. And we really wanted the student population to be any student who is ready and willing to commit to an academic summer experience. And we were very clear about this is an academic summer experience and it does move at a fast pace. But we really wanted to open this up and to make this a diverse student population. And we also had to advocate for keeping the program in the center of the county rather than moving it where it might be difficult for all students to come. So we were kind of always pivoting here to think about our different stakeholders.
Yeah, that was a really big change in the program. Previous to when we made these changes, basically teachers were recommended and had the mindset that if a student was receiving any special services of any kind, they were immediately removed from consideration for this kind of program, which was completely the opposite of what we wanted to accomplish. So it didn't matter if students were, had an IEP or a 504. It didn't matter if they were second language students. Didn't matter if, whatever was going on in the classroom, we wanted, if they were ready for this kind of experience academically, then we wanted them there.
And as Jackie and I were talking about this earlier, if we had been able to have a Summer Laureate program in 2020, we would have put more scaffolding in place, and we would have asked for different sort of a staff to support our changing demographics that were actually available in other programs, but they had never been available to our program. So we really were going to advocate for that need as well. And what's also exciting in a program like this that is sort of a standalone program, and you can tell you we were thinking about the parallel goals of teachers learning this and being able to take this back into their room and using it all year. We had some other things that really did that I guess were spurred on by a lot of the things that we were able to accomplish. One of the things I mentioned earlier was our Young Scholars Innovation Academy. And this was really taking what we had done at Summer Laureate and taking it to our Title I schools, where our Title I schools, the parents or the families could take advantage of summer opportunities that were free. And so, but the Title I programs, for the most part, were really remediation based. And so what we wanted to do, and what Jackie did in a pilot program a couple years prior with me, was to really take this opportunity and show people that all children deserve access to critical and creative thinking opportunities, and students from all backgrounds who show this readiness are ready for an academic experience with support. So this was a really huge thing. At one point, we had about 8 Young Scholars Innovation Academy happening around the same time as Summer Laureate. So it was very exciting, and it was because we could offer this for free to families in the Title I schools. So it was a huge success for us in that way. And then I included a quote from a teacher that taught at Young Scholars Innovation Academy, saying, "I wish that this could be like this every year during the year, because students are learning moment to moment because they are authentically interested." And then this adorable student talks about how Young Scholars Innovation Academy was a fun workout for my brain. And then if we, I did include this video in here, but I think we're running a little long, so I'm worried about our time in our presentation. But if you'd like to go back and watch that, as she's just adorable.
Many things started to happen that supported the work we were doing. This updated version of Summer Laureate was a clear starting point for innovation across the district. And as we were thinking about how we wanted to wrap up this presentation, we thought the best way was to let our students speak for themselves. So that's what we're going to do. We'll let them talk about the impact that these changes bring to their lives.
There's an all-girl team, and they could do just as much as the guys' team do. It gives you a really accomplished feeling, like you can really do this. You can grow up to be an amazing programmer, and nobody's holding you back. I mean, there are people who don't get to do this until they're college or older, and we're doing this in 5th grade, so that's a pretty awesome feeling. Oh, look, there's an all-girl.
So we appreciate you staying with us and going through this journey that we've been reliving, and being very excited about sharing with other people. If you have any questions or anyone know anything else in more detail, we would love to talk to anybody. And we are leaving our contact information here on the slide for you. And as always, try to tweet NAGC20 if you saw any cool ideas that you'd like to share. And we appreciate you. Hope you're having a great time at NAGC.
Thank you.